Good evening. Welcome to this edition of Mamdi's Lounge. Today we're coming to you from Thomas, right here at Aberdeen. Tonight on Mamdi's Lounge we're asking a question: are women their own worst enemies? Now, women in Sierra Leone have been complaining that they have not been given enough space in especially governance, and the opportunities created for them in other spheres to operate is also not enough. Some attribute this to the fact that ours is a system of patriarchy, and some women are actually subscribing to that because some feel they have been wired like that from birth. Others hold a totally different view, saying that some women are simply jealous of others, which is why they, to a very large extent, find it hard to support one another. So today on the show, we are going to attempt to answer this question and offer possible solutions to the question whether women are their own worst enemies. Joining me on the lounge, as always, are my regular lounge members, and as well we have two guests, Nyamakoro Saratasila and Joseph Ben Kaifala. Welcome to the program, to you both. Joseph is the founder of the Geneva Project Incorporated and co-founder of the Sierra Leone Memory Project. He's a lawyer, a philosopher and human rights activist, whom I believe brings a lot to the table on this particular topic. Welcome to Mamdi's Lounge, Joseph.
Thank you.
All right, Nyama has been on the lounge before. It's a pleasure to have you yet again.
Thank you.
Nyamakoro is a healthcare professional trained in the UK. She worked in Sierra Leone and was part of a team of health practitioners that provided support to Ebola victims. Nyama says her interests are public health and its application to our communities. Welcome, Nyama, to Mamdi's Lounge.
Thank you very much.
All right, so like I mentioned, we are discussing the topic, are women their own worst enemies? So I'll start with you, Nyama. Are women their own worst enemies?
That's a very provocative title you have there, I have to say, because is it meant to pitch one woman against the other, or groups of women against other groups of women? I don't know.
So we'll see as we discuss.
So the answer is no, women are not their own worst enemies, from my point of view.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me ask you, Joseph, the same question.
Yes, I think the question is self-implies an assumption that women are their own worst enemies. And I don't believe that is the case. I think women have been conditioned to believe that they are their own worst enemies. So therefore, that is a no.
Okay. So both.
Here we have a situation in the ideal world saying that women are not their own worst enemies. But given the realities of our society and how we interact with each other, I would say yes, we are our own worst enemies. But what would
proviso
there that we are conditioned. We've been conditioned into being our own worst enemies.
Okay, so I'll have Willet.
So I want to look at it from 3 points of view, right? One, that the African society is structured in a way where women are socialized to become their own worst enemies. And two, that the fact that some women are not their own worst enemies, mainly because they understand what society prescribes, or the way society has structured itself for a woman to behave, and they are not complying to that. So they are not their own worst enemies. And the third angle I want to take it from is the fact that some women are really their own worst enemies. These women I will call them women who are just bad. Even if society had not socialized them into becoming their own worst enemies, they would have become their own worst enemies because in themselves they are just wicked. They are wicked women. So 3 categories.
All right, so let's have a say.
So I think for me, if women their own worst enemies, when I think of women's groups, if I think of it in terms of groups of women, I would say yes. So within the context of Sierra Leone, you get women's groups them. We Altina by Cabal. She not in a me group, they hang out with people them. Even if we're all working towards the same cause, people don't necessarily see the need to support you. Because there are times when we won't agree. If we disagree, it's okay. But I also think in terms of individually now, it's also about perspective. So that's why I said it's a yes and no answer for me. So in terms of groups, yes. But on an individual basis, I would say no, because I think it's about perception. It's about perspective on this one. So it hurts more when a woman does something to you. Even if a man does something to you and a woman does something to you, even if it's the same thing, it hurts more when it's a woman, because you're thinking, "I'm a company woman, you know, for do this to me." You understand? Man can go pull woman at office. You man go no, but sometimes you go take and if na company woman say you take and say, "Bull, me company woman, I go pull me in office," because I think we have expectations as women. We hold each other to a different standard.
So does it mean? Hold on, before I let me just ask you this. Sadia, does it mean because we are women, we're supposed to be each other's keepers all the time?
I think even though we don't say that, we actually think so.
This is where I wanted to come in.
Yeah.
It's the sister code. Right?
Unspoken.
Unspoken. It's not, but then we expect that of each other, that you should have my back. You should be my keeper, and that sort of thing. So if we're united in our sex, we are united in the experiences that we go through, from birth, childhood to, adults. Adulthood, you're expected that as a group we should be more unified and probably take a unified position on certain, women's issues.
Political issues.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
So even if it doesn't really speak
That affect us.
Yeah, okay, that affects us. Okay, so do you subscribe to that? Do you agree that because we are women, we should be seen supporting each other irrespective?
No, I don't.
Of the fact, irrespective of the situation.
I think to a certain level, that is a stage in which we're trying to remedy certain fundamental issues. And to support each other in spite of whatever is an affirmative action. Because we have an existing problem, and that's what I wanted to talk about first. Women are conditioned to think that they are their own worst enemies because we've created structures that make them believe that from birth. We have divided a line. Women are almost groomed to become properties of men. So therefore, they have to adopt a certain behavior to make them conducive for men. You are taught to be a woman, and men are not taught to change anything about their lives. And therefore, because women are placed in that position to live for men, it creates a competition. And when there is a competition, there is comparison. And when there is comparison, people have to outdo each other. So women adopt this sense that they now have to outdo each other. And secondly, and this is a point where most Christians might not like me, the first criminal case of the Bible is the case of Adam, when God calls on Adam and says, "Adam, why have you eaten from the forbidden fruit?" And instead of answering as a man of his own agency, he says, "The woman you put here gave it to me."
I think that's the beginning of misogyny.
So he diverts the blame to a woman.
Yes, right there.
And so when you become a victim for so long, you start to become your element. So, there's a joke about going to a mental hospital and somebody says, "You are crazy." And you say, "No, I'm not a crazy person." "You're crazy." "No, I'm not a crazy person." "You're crazy." "I told you I'm not a crazy person." And then suddenly they're like, "You see, she's crazy." And so when that structure is created, in the end, women are trying to fix that. That is why we develop groupings that try to overcome this patriarchal segregation that puts women against each other.
But then look at the correlation between your point about what Sarata said here, that the case of the Garden of Eden is where the first case of misogyny took place.
Please.
I just wanted to say as well, for us in Sierra Leone and African women in general, we also have to take into account the broader context of poverty and limited resources that we have that's available to us. So all man they fit for the same team. You understand? And then because we're conditioned to believe that the man is always superior, whether we like it or not, the man is always superior. They always get more disposable income, resources, God knows what else. You know what I mean? So we all live. First, we say, make we marry somebody with a little bit better past we come out, we get little money past we and all the rest of it. So we all live fed. And man is every fed because we're in that broader poverty context, but not in that kind of way where we women in effect, because we were already placed within that kind of structure where we went and gave the apple to Adam and all this sort of thing, and we have women who believe that other women are evil. They're not. They're just ordinary human beings trying to find their way.
Is it that when women do that, it becomes like women, a case of women hating other women?
Well, let me build up.
They're trying to find their way. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to seek greener pastures, if you like everybody.
So do you think women were, we've always been at a disadvantaged position since creation? Is that the reason why?
Oh, without any doubt whatsoever. And then for us, within us, in our own Sierra Leone and within West Africa, we have the issues of poverty that all of society has to deal with anyway. And so we're all clamoring for the few resources that there are, which includes the more clever man, the man who has more resources. He get big motor car. I don't know what else they can get. We all effort for it.
Can I come in because I need to clarify my point. I made 3 submissions. I made 3 submissions that I need to clarify. Yeah, he's talked about the first one, that the fact that women are socialized into believing that they're their worst enemies because they say to the woman, the man is your superior, and that's the thinking the woman goes with. And so anything the woman, in everything she does, that's the thinking, that's the mindset. But you have some women, let me take the third one, because the second one, you have women who know about the structure of society, but they have tried to emancipate themselves from this dependence syndrome, and now they are trying to do their own thing, trying to be independent. And you have some other ones who are just wicked. Let me give you an example. They are just wicked in themselves. If even society was not structured that way, they would be wicked.
I like the way you're emphasizing the wicked.
Take a woman bathing a baby. I'm telling you, these things happen. Don't pretend as if they don't happen. Bathing a baby and deflowering the baby just because she thinks she does not want the baby to go through the pains of being deflowered by a man. What nonsense is that? It's happening in this country. It's happening. So those kinds of women, you understand what I mean? You cannot tell me. No. You cannot tell me that woman is not a wicked woman.
That is exactly. That
is a criminal. No. So it's done by a woman. When a man deflowers a child, you say the man has deflowered the child. But when a woman does that, you are saying that the woman. You should not consider that the woman is wicked. That's wickedness.
No, absolutely. It's wickedness.
You have women who will think that other women are wicked because when you see what the things that other women do, you will say that woman is wicked. You understand what I'm saying?
What you're describing
it's wicked. You have certain kinds of women that are wicked.
That's what I was going to say.
No, you cannot say that.
No, you cannot say that.
In general human society, there are good and bad people.
Yes, but we are talking about women, and we are talking about women and the acts and the things that they do.
I know we have wicked.
No, we don't have percentages. If we want to begin to talk about percentages, let's start from the scratch and begin to talk about percentages.
This woman, you gave the justification for why this woman is deflowering her daughter. And what was the justification?
Because
I am saying that she does not want to go through the pains. No. She does not want. No. She does not want. You asked me to clarify my submission. Let me clarify it. She does not want the girl to go through the pains of being deflowered. That's it. Whether being deflowered by a man or woman, the fact that she does not want the child to go through the pains of being deflowered. So you understand? That's wickedness in itself.
No,
wicked.
The person is
mad. Normal, exactly.
No. You have women who are doing that, These are silent things that you can take consideration of.
Thank you.
These are happening.
Thank you for your submission.
So that's why you will have women who think that
So
some
then
other women, some certain women are wicked.
Mental health issues.
Thank you for your submission, Williams. I'll give an opportunity to Joseph to say,
the assumption in this issue is that you are claiming the woman is trying to prevent the pain of the daughter being deflowered later. And the assumption is that what she's doing now is not painful. It is. And anyone who is thinking that they're solving pain by more pain is insane.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
But the general question of evil is a human societal thing. It's not exclusive to women. No. In fact, if you want to put the blame of evil in society, I'd rather think the masculine way.
Because more men commit crime.
Yeah.
That's
so. But what I was trying to say earlier is the evil you describe.
I said wicked.
Wickedness you describe sometimes is perceived in a way that this woman, if you look deeply, if she's not insane at all, is trying to fight an existing system. Yeah. She doesn't want her daughter to face the pain of being deflowered by a man. Perhaps she has an experience that proves that there is certain amount of male domineering aspect of what she went through she doesn't want her daughter to go through. But in terms of women generally, you speak of women who have been emancipated and still doing good. Victimhood sometimes clouds our mind for emancipation. One of the issues in this country is rape. I went to a program recently when a female member of parliament was invited to talk about the issues of rape. She stands up and says, yeah, rape is bad, and then immediately goes to, but then when I pick in and say, the kind clothes them way than they wear.
I heard that. Yes.
We talked about
that. If you walk down the street, you would see more half-naked men than women.
Women, exactly.
No woman is raping them. Mm-hmm. So to claim that rape is induced and men cannot control themselves simply because they saw a girl in a miniskirt, is this mentality. You would think this woman is highly educated, she's moved on, but for her it's justified because she now feels emancipated, she dressed nicely, and that is why she's not being raped. Therefore, to prevent rape, you must wear your boo-boo and nobody can see even your fingernails. Mm-hmm. But then you come to the point where a man rapes a baby in diapers.
Yeah.
And then you begin to question, is this about dress code? Mm. So the program I was talking about earlier, this is it. We program women themselves, even those who have been emancipated in a society that is still structured, to think that the masculine way is the way to go. Mm-hmm. And they forget that they themselves are doing program thinking. Mm-hmm. They have not really moved on. The emancipation has not occurred yet.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll come back to you. We'll go for a quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go for a quick break. Don't forget you're watching Mamdi's Lounge. Is coming to you on AYV television. And today we are at Thomas bringing this particular edition to you. And today we'll talk about, we'll ask a question whether Umadem now we are your worst enemies. A lot of things don't be said. We don't say a lot on this particular topic. We will come back after this quick break. Hello and welcome to Mamdi's Lounge.
We laugh. We cry. With the tastiest guests and the best banter. All signed up by Mamdi's Lounge.
Welcome back to Mamdi's Lounge. In case you're just joining us, today we're talking about women. We're actually asking a question whether women are their own worst enemies. I mean, we've had very interesting submissions from our guests and, of course, members of the lounge. Quickly, before we went to the break, Sadia was about to butt in to something Joseph and William said.
I mean, it's everything that's been said.
Okay.
I understand. So I understand the different perspectives and how, as a society, women are conditioned to believe they are victims. And that's what bothers me, because I think a lot of the things we do, even with women's groups, is we're riding on this wave of women being victims. And so you're not even helping people. You are making them stay in that group. I was brought up, there are 3 girls in my family. I was not brought up to believe I'm a victim. So in my family, and I think, so because that's where it starts, you can do whatever you want to do. So for me, the way I was brought up is, for example, let's take academics. If it has to do with books, if you're a man, I can do as well as you can do any day. I don't see a man as inferior. So let me give an example. I've heard of cases where people in college, so you get them picking out, they go study with them, but them. The girl picking out and they cook, the boy picking and they study. They don't cook down, then go, the boy they eat, they explain to the waiting and study. I say, waiting do me. When we not go sit down, we all study. Yeah. Then when we don't, we all go find something eat. Now me they go sit down. I mean, so you see the mentality, and that's where the problem lies. It's about this mentality, and I think even as women, we're letting other women think, oh, we are victims and we have to fight against the system. That's where the problem is. I don't see myself as a victim. So if I don't see myself as a victim, I see myself as having equal chances as any man when it comes to it. And I think also when we take, so we can't leave the religious side out of this, because as society, we're very traditional, we're very religious, right? We talk about women being submissive to men, but so I'm a Christian, so I can speak from a Christian point of view. It says be submissive to your own husband. So if you're in an office with guys or you're hanging out with guy friends, a man will talk to you anyhow, and they say, you know, for talk to a man, so no. If he's a man and I'm a woman and we're equal, why shouldn't I talk to that man? You understand? And sometimes it's even us, the women, where they go say, this speaker, so I will go talk to a man, so I will go this. So. And we don't accord the same respect to women as we do men in our society. So I don't blame, I know, yes, patriarchy has a part in this. And I remember when we had this discussion, I say, why blame it on patriarchy? First of all, let's start by taking responsibility for it as women, that we have contributed to the problem by feeding into this whole thing that we are victims. And so we have helped to make the problem bigger than it was when we even started.
So how do we, let me just button. Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead.
Because what I want to say is that I know we are here. That's why I have a problem with us being here and just delving on the point of patriarchy. Because I think that we should establish that, yes, that's where it started. But going forward, let us look at some of the ills, things that are happening, that are going wrong, that women are doing themselves. And how do we change them? Yes. So if we begin to, wallow in this patriarchy, how do we move forward? We'll just be stuck in one place. So that's the problem. That's why I find it so, yes, it's patriarchy. I understand patriarchy. I know patriarchy. I teach patriarchy. But going forward, going forward,
can we dismantle it? Can we dismantle the whole patriarch type of society that we find ourselves in? Can we dismantle it? I think that is a real question. Because if we cannot, then we are forever going to be victims of that particular social way of living, aren't we?
So how do we basically, all right. So how do we, so we all agree that, of course, ours is a system of patriarchy, and some people have been wired to believe this situation. So how do we now that we know that that is not what it is, of course it exists, but we need to move beyond that as women, try to take charge and do things the way we're supposed to do them. So how do we move?
Imagine, we are in a country, we live in a country, I mean, these are the facts of life. We can't get away from it. We live in a country where I understand that 70% of people are illiterate. Only 30 or maybe 35% can actually read and write. And that reading and writing is not full understanding of what's going on. It's just like you write a little list and you give it to your home help at home and say, go to the market and pick me up these things. So to be fully literate and understand what is being said is a different level of education altogether, and we don't have that. So somebody, for example, in my grandma's village, somebody there has to get it, what this whole patriarchy type of society is, the concepts that we're talking about here, and how that translates into their lives, and how can they get that out of their thinking, their mindset, and the way that they behave, and how they bring their children up, and how that comes back in. You know what I mean? So it's
yes, that's okay. What's in a patriarchy? Let them understand. Also, we come out.
What's in patriarchy?
Okay.
And how it affects we. So we self go able for look into what do they do as women them?
Yes.
And how will they contribute
Yes.
to that kind system? The patriarchy basically, they refer to the kind society in a man
in charge.
Dominate
man
all
dominate
structures.
all,
yes. Yes.
You know, so, but the thing is, what me want to say is that both the men and women, in actual fact, are victims of this system, because we all, in one way or the other, they fight for sustainer, for keep them, let it continue, so it pass on from one generation to the other. Now, we don't mean harm, you know. We don't mean harm. We just mean for continue with traditions, you know, with culture, with way of life, or whatever, and pass on anything that we'll hold there. So we serve from we to we picking them, you know. So now that's nice, they happen. But then it comes to the very important thing. If we, the woman, them, one, we are the majority. Two, and as much as giving birth to children, you need a man. But I think, say, a very important rule is that for
now,
women,
don't change.
You need sperm.
Yes,
You need not necessarily a man.
Yeah, so we women there, we they play a very important role in giving birth to the world. Yeah. Now they born the one on one. Now we born the one on one. So for God's sake, for me, I choose to look at it this way: that I have a sacred responsibility in the upbringing of that child or those children that I give birth to. So socialization comes in. But if as a mother, Sarah say, we're not enlightened, some of we will not go back to school, some of we, you don't need to go to school for understand this patriarchy, by the way, you know, but then maybe we'll not understand, we'll not think of them. And then women are working, think of them in their own settings, and they see them as the rebels, you know, because they rebel against the status quo, you know. So
That is true.
So we need for now understand that day, and when they bring me picking up now, I begin to teach me boy picking chivalry, you know, so that you know that when you work out with your sister, them open the door for them, you know, be nice to the lady, sit down, be nice to your mama, and when you teach your child, your son, to be that way, when he is a man, he will in turn treat a woman well.
Some people, they argue against that even. Then go tell you say that one day they make the man
Look weak.
Yes.
But but in our society, I feel like that's
put
asking
pressure on
for
the
a lot.
man. Say, Papa,
Let's-
get for behave
at a very basic level now. So I have two cousins, a boy and a girl. They're about the same age. Where the girl picking Hamburg, and the boy picking I take Ken, they beat him. Okay, so I had a whole discussion about this. But this is the society we live in. So we go back to holding men and women to different standards. Where you get picking in our house, where boy picking eats, small in sister, whether it big or small, now they clear, now they wash span. You understand? If you don't make, so at a very young age, you don't teach the girl picking, say you won't wait till.
And so this na in mama.
So this mama because mama na dey uphold that system in our house. Papa no dey. So boy pikin no go book, you no go. And you need see boy pikin a kitchen. You know they maybe pass for split wood, but now we need split wood like them thing and they. So it starts in the home, and that's why I go back to the point that now we women then now we don't keep this. Now we don't get this. So
It's just about that women, you know, that women create the space to become victims. I think so. You know, because let's say, for example, let's look at various scenarios. Don't look at politics, for example. You know, there are various scenarios. Down in Sierra Leone, the woman in plenty past the man there.
Yes.
You understand? So by now, for my president a long time.
Where would
You understand? Yes, if only we'll be there together as much as we're supposed to be. But then, at some point, like how we talk, the woman and they create that space for letting man them divide them.
I think there's a misconception there. Patriarchy is about power, and power does not need majority. We have given men the power for so long so that they have a strong grip on society, so many women feel responsible to maintain the society. Therefore, the mother who is telling her daughter to wash the dishes is not necessarily being bad to her daughter is she has to be a good wife. Otherwise, she would never get married, which is an outcome most of human society desires. So that's the problem. And two, when they say the mother-in-law, the bad mother-in-law, the bad mother-in-law is not really the bad mother-in-law. The bad mother-in-law is saying your daughter is bad for my son. So again, they have to. It is not right, because so most mothers are the enforcers of this patriarchy.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So when a mother-in-law enters a home and she thinks the wife is not adequate for her son, she feels herself the policeman of society to be against her daughter-in-law because she doesn't cook well, her son is hungry all the
that's
time.
not the place.
Oh,
That's because the mother it's not in her place.
That's not always the
No, I mean whether
it is right. I
You're
am
not saying it is right.
This is the enforcement
That's
of the patriarchy.
patriarchy.
That
Yes.
is what is
Yes.
pitching women against each other.
Because that's where socialization starts with the home. So the roles are divided. There's division of labor in the home. So the woman is taught to do housework.
Because
that's
she's generally being prepared for the husband.
That's division of labor
man
in the
of
home.
power.
That's
it.
what they do. But I mean, I can say now, I don't want to do housework. I'm not domesticated. I don't want to do. You understand what I'm saying? You can say it because you are enlightened. But that's how society has structured it. That's the way it is. That's what we are saying. You understand? Only the people who are enlightened will be able to say, hey, no, me, I'm not going to do, another do housework. Like I was in a seminar one day and somebody was telling the other person, I should say you don't do all your cooking now. And then the woman said to her, I don't supervise cooking. And then the man looked at her and said, you don't do it? He said, no. I said, I don't even do it. He said, why should I? My husband does it. So he said, hey, this gender business. You understand? So you have to get to a certain level in society and understand some of these things. For like, even you man, the man self understand. For like, to understand, say, this division of labor in the home. I can take on, cooking and all those sort of things, and you take on going to work. There must be division of labor in the home.
I'm not saying not go cook for you, man, but let we understand, saying, man and woman them. They're equal, and we get equal rights. You understand? And we get equal abilities. So I'm not saying that.
100%.
So that's what we want for change. We want to let you understand. Say, if man can do this, and I say now go begin to swoon and talk. But there's certain things mentally that if a man can do this, so can you.
All right. So I was going to.
Women shouldn't be made to feel inferior. Also, if they like the things that women
What do you
doing? Yes.
I like my house to be perfect.
I like cooking.
Yes, that's right. I like to dress up. That's all part of me being female, and it's not something I should be ashamed of.
Exactly.
Just because.
So don't we also think that, okay, so I was going to give various scenarios, why it's easy, or people will easily run to conclusions that women are their own worst enemies. Now I was talking about politics. We have relationships, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationships. Most of the time, you get 10 women around the stable, married women, and you ask them about their relationship with their mother-in-laws. I'm sure you have like 7 telling you that we are not so cozy. But these are women to women. These are woman and woman, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Where they're supposed to be. So it's that small, that kind of setting there. You expect, say, like how we started, they say, we're supposed to support each other because, of course, we see ourselves as women. So mother-in-law and daughter-in-law supposed for the see eye to eye. Although you get some mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, we don't get fantastic relationships. But if you take a percentage-wise, some man will say, I'm not doing my don't stay like it because of the mother-in-law interference. So let's say like that. They get woman and woman organizations in too. The way they relate with one another. Women in politics. You find out, say, even in politics, we tend to support. We all are victims of that. We support like the man against the woman because it's easy for somebody to just run to that conclusion that women, we're not a support ourselves that much. In the face of men, we're always there. Now, we try for somebody who are left hand, look where they make like some of these gossips we do to men. You understand? So,
but on the other hand,
but we don't have enough women anyway.
But the other
if we
side,
had more women, then we'd have more
women.
choice.
What do you mean?
What do you mean we don't have much women?
The percentage in terms of population, we have more women.
We have more women than men in the population. But when it comes to
the
politics,
representation, we don't have enough choices, women choices.
So that's what we're saying. So how do you say now women support each other, but yet we have a population of women much bigger than
we
men?
need more women to come forward.
Let me say this from 2 perspectives. One is nobody is the worst enemy of its kind if there is no competition.
Yeah.
And in this situation, I repeat, the competition is always for the attention of the male. And that's one. And so the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law are competing for the son. And that is what pitched them against each other. And two, we are here because this room is relatively high-quality people. We're talking about how do we surmount the patriarchy. We forget that no subject wants to become an object. So there is, on the other side, a resistance. And that resistance is not simply going to say, hey, well, now all is good. And as long as that patriarchy exists, and this will require, unfortunately, the dismantling of various institutions such as the church and the mosque, because the women still stand behind at the mosque, and your position itself
Not for the church.
inferior.
Not for the church.
A friend of mine was kicked out of a born-again church a few weeks ago because she had a
Similar
haircut.
sort of philosophy they have.
Not
For a
for
haircut.
a certain.
And as long as these requirements are placed on women, so I always say, I say everything is comparative. To be prettier, there must be a pretty person. And if the man wants the prettier woman, the pretty woman and the prettier woman would have to compete all day, all night. And therefore, they become their own worst enemy. And this is what it is. This is the perspective. It's power.
Okay, guys, I will have to stop you for a moment and let's go for this quick break. Hello and welcome to Mamdi's Lounge.
We laugh. We cry. With the tastiest guests and the best banter. All signed up by Mamdi's Lounge.
Welcome back to Mamdi's Lounge. We are at Thomas, and today on the lounge we have two amazing guests, Joseph Ben Kaifala and Sarata Nyamakorosila. The other way, right? So in addition to my lounge members, and we've had very interesting conversations going on here. We're talking today, we're asking a question whether women are their own worst enemies, and we've had very interesting points of view. Joseph mentioned something about competing, because they compete. So, woman, we always say we they compete. For example, with some of mother and daughter relationship. So, how you go say, woman, we did together, we so side and most time mother and daughter already see. You know, party to party in women's groups, always small thing can just happen, we can just spark up negativity amongst them. So, we talk about competition. And before we go on the break, Sadia, we want for chipping.
I think that's perfect. You summed it up perfectly. So now let me break it down a Creole. All right. So when we talk about competing for the man's attention. So if you think about them, we mama them and granny them. We say they suffer and they marry those. So because of that, most of them they love what they don't get from their husband. So they invest so much in them picking them. Then they expect them picking them for can show them that love you. The way you go married to the man now, the mama ain't feel like I don't suffer to me, man. Naomi for can enjoy. Forgetting, say you self now. I mean, these are seeds being sown, right? Because then the woman, this woman itself not going to enjoy. If you don't meet, I don't meet up a married woman. They really then love affection after they pick. Then me picking and then I'm life. Me picking and I'm this. And so because they know they get the affection from the man, they focus on the child, and then so it goes on. Whether picking a marriage, then feel like the daughter alone, I want to commit me. We don't suffer from me picking.
Yes, you understand between the African mentality.
But then on the other hand, though, when we talk about women in politics and in leadership, for me and in general, I don't think just because I'm a woman now, I will support you now just because you're not a woman, read it before person. Because the thing is, as a woman, I am an individual also, right? I have my own values, I have morals, I have principles. So there are certain things, principle-wise, that I don't compromise. And sometimes maybe I'm just not. I mean, just because it says woman and it doesn't mean I should be into it. There's some things that I'm just not interested in. But then when we go into this whole, oh, we are women, then we should unite, it's like saying everything that concerns women. So if today they talk about FGM and for day, if they say sexual, I mean, I may have a position on these things, but that don't mean say now.
Yeah.
It becomes that was every single thing now. You have to be on it. I remember when I have to bring this up when China Nikki came up, and people were writing on Facebook, where are the women's groups now? People are not, they support China, we're out in color. And I'm like, I don't even watch this show on TV. Just because now China Nikki is in the news and everybody thinks, oh, she's she became like this project that everybody thinks, oh, we should invest in her and then change her life. And I believe in that. But that not mean saying that I should join the bandwagon and now be posting on Facebook and saying, and
issue out a press release.
T-shirts.
Or issue out a press release.
So I think we should cut women some slack. Like, if it interests you, okay. If it doesn't interest you, okay. And if you want to support a cause, fine. If you don't, then it should be
Yes.
However, sometimes surmounting systemic patriarchy requires bringing stones to a gunfight. And I think many of the time the requirement of sisterhood is not simply about ideology and principles. It's about the masses coming together to surmount a common enemy. And I think that is why there is this existing expectation that when it's a women issue, you should participate. You can talk about the finesse aspects of the principles later, but the uniformed approach towards breaking down this major block is what makes people sometimes say,
Yes, I agree that.
I don't want to bring this in as an example, because I'm not saying an example we in Ordania, we in Sierra Leone, or in West Africa. I prefer African examples. But I have to say, Donald Trump, where women in there against where they're not being gladdy, we've been a sort of the gain ground during the election time and kind. You see, they make big match. So man, they not get interest in politics. They don't want to talk to anybody but waiting at the candidates, whether they support or then kind of thing. But then come in solidarity with other women, they move, they make march and say, no, this man, so we don't like him because waiting do na man with it against we woman.
But I am not.
They're marking it for make them move.
Yes, but I think what Sadia is saying, Sadia is not opposed to the fact that we are supposed to form a critical mass when the need arises. Yes, but on certain issues you have different opinions. Like, for example, the issue of abortion. Self-abortion. All man, you view different. Me nothing say abortion for legalize them. Other women think say for legalize. Other women feel say you body na you waiting self. Me feel say anything that has to do with my body, my husband and me for take decision together. That's what I feel because I go by religious dictates. You understand what I mean? So all man not to all teen. You understand? There are some things, and the woman herself, I mean, we should get to a point where we are, we feel free for left we company. Let it think what you want for thinking independent. You don't force me to think your thoughts. You understand? There's no way I can think your thoughts because I'm not in your head. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the thing. So do we... Thank you.
The problem with that, though, is, and that is the same problem I have with people who campaign against rape who says, what if now you sister? Why does it have to be my sister? So I think sometimes we have to put the objective interest sort of above our subjective interest because abortion might not be so important to you because you've had a certain foundation that makes you make certain choices. Now you look beyond yourself and say, well, what about those people over there? What choices do they have? Do they even have a voice? So you join the debate until it gets to a point when it becomes a common debate, when everyone can participate at a certain level. But for a moment you say, let's just break this wall and then let's come to the real conversation now.
So join the debate does not mean that you don't have your own point of view. So join the debate. You should still have your own.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's what I am part of the debate. We debate, yes, right. But I hold my own point of view.
So do we politics in Sierra Leone? Beyond only vote for women, it's nice. But where's that? Let's find the issues that we can all rally around to get that critical mass. I'm yet to see that. So not just can't tell me say, oh yeah, love votes for woman. I'm not just going to blindly vote for a woman just because she's a woman. I want to know this woman is qualified. This woman can represent us because when women go there not perform, look at a woman they not make way to you want women that can actually perform. So
holding that woman to higher standards. That is the whole point. If the man go there and not perform, you not care about that. But if the woman go there and not perform, you say, oh look at a woman in not.
That's why you need to scrutinize. You scrutinize her
all
because
right, so okay, we've all.
Mamdi, there's something I want to talk about.
You will say it. You will say it. Let me come in.
go over here
Let
a
me
little
come in.
bit.
No, it's okay. I'm coming. So we all agree that we shouldn't support women because they are women, right? Is it so? Supporting women because they're women for me makes it feel as if we want it easy. You know, sometimes people can say women always want things easy. So if we say we'll never support women because they're not women, in a way it's telling me that we should do it. It's the easy route, right? But let us come back to this issue of patriarchy because that's the fundamental issue. Do we see this changing at all?
There's always a possibility of change. As Mo Abudu said, that if you can think it,
we can do it.
We can do it. So if we think it, we can do it. It starts with the government also having its own head screwed on properly and understanding these issues and then effecting it or making it visible in our policies, in the different departments and agencies. When the policies are set up and then we enforce as well certain things, then I think we will start to have a change. That's from the government point of view. But also from like the home situation, mothers, parents need to take that responsibility more seriously. And if we all understand these issues better, then I think that's a step in the right direction of getting things changed, to a non-patriarchal system. But of course, we have challenges. We have a larger part of our population that's not educated or enlightened, and that is a problem here. But it does mean that each and every one of us should be responsible to the other or for the other or care about the other enough to share what we know to other people or with other people that we interact with. It could be somebody who works for you, somebody you interact with at work. It could be in a taxi. Conversations happen. If you're not supposed to really go na a tire base, but you're not one enlightened man, you go there, if we're able to talk.
Challenge people.
I think say Joseph will do a good job, that side. And for me, all the women's issues also and everything, they say woman for lead and all of that, fine. But I think we also careful bring the men along, carry them along. Because even when it comes to the sexual violence thing, we need to make the man himself come to the force more. Now there's you're not, the women are not having these kids by themselves.
So Hannah, voting, for example, let me just vote. So voting for
talk about this
voting for a man, voting for a man as president. You're nothing to say that is a way of bringing come to the fore, to the point that there's a sense of, you talk something about governments, for example, taking the issue of women very seriously. It's not enough. Speaking during campaign, making campaign speeches, talking about, we will give the woman 30%, then we can give them 5%. I remember once somebody said, well, if a woman say they want 30%, they give them 5%, they'll not take them. It's not that easy.
Can I?
I would say it's not that easy.
I just, in fact, this 30%, let's just talk about you 30%. The 30%, the global agenda is 30%. They are not giving us 30%. They are contributing to the global agenda. That is what it states. So not only give we, you understand? So not only give we 30%. 30% is the global agenda. So then they just conform to them.
So
another thing I want to talk about.
Can I? They're not giving us.
They're not giving.
Okay, I take it back.
Global agenda. I don't like
We are definitely okay. So let me take it back.
30%.
So
Favor.
Yes, favor. So let me take it back. They are not giving us 30%. Part of the global agenda, we're entitled.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but here, governments after government, they come and say, okay, then they in fact points to the mistakes of the previous one. So if you campaign against one person, you say, look, who the woman enemy tell us then they go na X%, then go na 30%. Look how much percent they go na 2%. Then where we come, we go na 30. So we do woman we they behind them, support them, bring them come at that point. But when it comes to owning up to the own side of the bargain, they always let you down. You understand?
If I go by what Sadia's submission was, is that I won't get involved in it because I'm a woman. Not all issues. If I don't feel like I won't. These are some of the fundamental issues that you cannot afford to say, keep a sealed lip on. Sometimes we all do need to come together and speak with one voice, because as one voice, I think we're more powerful than as just individuals, saying
Working
that's
in our own.
I don't think that was Sadia's submission. That was not what Sadia was saying.
There were things that.
Well, then I got you wrong, so that we don't.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay. But I agree with you. So that's not what I was saying, but I do get what you're saying. No, I just think. So even with the whole idea of the quota system, I agree that there's a system in place, but I don't see myself, and I know, okay, obviously it comes with my level of education and exposure, so I acknowledge that, which is what I would want for a lot of women. So I don't see myself as a victim. And I don't like this idea of the quota system, you understand? For me, even if we're not women, I believe you can influence and lead from wherever you are. And we have a lot of women's groups who have been around, and I really wish we could talk about women's groups. We have a lot of women's groups in this country who have been there, and we're fighting for percentages and everything. But a lot of us don't even want to associate with these women. And why is that so? That is the truth. Because we realize that sometimes what people say, what's on paper, is not what they actually do in real life. And sometimes it's like sometimes you're doing this, but to draw attention to yourself. You don't you're not really passionate about the issue or committed to finishing the cause. So these are the issues. If we're all seated here at this table, I'm sure if we were to
Can I talk about the quota system?
Ask who is part of so and so women's group, I'm sure almost nobody here is part of any women's group, and there's a reason why. You are
Very senior citizen. Very senior citizen.
and I'm sure you have your
Sadia, let me talk about this quota system. I beg to differ a bit, because the way society is structured, I mean, if you don't have this quota system in place, you will find out that the representation will be dominated by men.
It's like
so yes.
discrimination.
So you can lead from your own end, but if you don't have nationally at national level, if you don't have a quota system in place. Them market woman they all, them elite woman they all, then go vote for all the man them, and all the man they go, and then when you come within the political parties, they will choose all men. You understand? Then they go give all man symbol, then woman they go. That's different. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
But it has to be.
What difference has that made?
You know,
I mean, it has to be.
Has that made?
It has to be.
It's a starting point, okay? Now, things will change. To go right back to the beginning of what it was that you wanted to know, things will change. But I find, because I think that maybe some of us have lived a little longer than others.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
I find that change is not instant, it's not automatic, it's gradual and incremental. And I know for a fact, now, notwithstanding the fact that I lived somewhere else or whatever it is, I know for a fact that as an African woman, I'm not living like my grandmother.
Right.
I'm not. I wasn't given into marriage at 13 or anything like that. My father was most insistent that I fulfilled my education and that sort of thing. And I'm saying that can be replicated in lots of lives that you see across this nation. Okay, it's not just me. And that is the point I'm trying to make, is that over a period of time, our thinking will change, and we will have more people, more women, and more men in these discussions saying, well, okay, now we've achieved such and such, we want to go to the next stage, and that is what it is that we're looking at. So yes, change will come. It might not be in my lifetime or anybody else's, but it will come.
Change.
Well, meanwhile.
So yes, meanwhile.
I think I get Sadia's point, because sometimes the quota system appears to be unfair, unjust. You feel like you've been selected merely because you're a woman. However, when the system is so rigged, sometimes affirmative action is what we need before we can get to the point that we want to get at. Because people in positions of power always have an excuse to avoid change. One of my hero is Chenoba, who runs Purposeful Productions, and one of his criteria is, I don't fund all male-led organizations. Then usually people are like, well, the woman, they're not there. But when they want the funding suddenly women begin to appear in their leadership. And the point I'm trying to make is well-meaning men have to join this crowd to say that we are against unequal society because it affects us all. Men are not having it so easy because when you say your wife will stay home and not do nothing except for cook and clean and all of that stuff, you have to go bring money.
Sure.
But if you and your wife are bringing income, life is a little bit more easy, I would assume. That's what I would want. So we have to, as men, really look at this unjust, unfair, unequal society and say we want a change. And sometimes it have to be an affirmative action such as Chandler does and say, I won't give you funding if you come here with an organization that is led by all men.
Yeah,
and,
that's wrong.
we don't have as many educated women as we might want, but they are there. And
why don't you nurture them?
Right.
Yes, if we want change, we have to start right from the home. Some women, some women, let me be careful, some women sit and they work, they earn their living, but they still depend on the man to do everything for them. That, I think, is a problem. Because if you don't take responsibility for yourself, and you are shifting the responsibility to the man, then you have a problem. I think you have a problem. So I have a problem with that. How do you sit and allow the man to do everything for you as you work, you bring in income? No, you bring in income.
That's what I'm just saying. So let's talk about
we discussed it.
Let's break everything down. What is everything in this sense?
Okay, I'm saying that women, sometimes their husbands say, oh, okay, you just sit on her house, I go do everything for you. Or you get the other situation where the woman go to work. She will be working gainfully, employed, but she would allow the man to do everything, not contribute financially in the home. So I'm talking in that kind of situation that you have a woman who works, she gets a lot of money, but she still allows the husband to do everything for her, and she does not contribute. Why should women? You see, that's the thinking. I'm just saying. Why should women? Why should women always want men to do everything for them?
All right, I'll come back.
I'm just saying.
All right, hold on. You made your point. Hold on.
So first of all, I like the word allow. So, it's a decision on the woman's part. First of all, I don't think there's anything wrong because it depends on the arrangement between the understanding between the parties involved. So make this general statement that, woman, for allow man for do this for you, I wouldn't subscribe to that. As empowered, as enlightened as I am, if I'm in a relationship, that would be different. If it's my decision if I want to contribute. But to say, woman, not allow man for do this, not do this, I wouldn't say that. And but generally speaking, though, I would think if a woman I'm sure she contributes somehow. I don't think a woman will just go there and sit and the man does every single thing.
So even staying at home, let's say for example, the man stays back at home.
We're making generalizations.
Exactly.
At this point,
So let's say the man, yes. So Wheeler just said, why would a woman allow a man to do everything? So let's say, for example, there's an agreement or there's an arrangement between the two of you, husband and wife, or so you start having kids. And the man says, I want you to stay and look after my kid. That in itself is not letting the man do everything for you.
I'm saying, no, you're getting me wrong.
Yeah, because
you're getting me wrong. I said, women who are gainfully employed, I'm saying women, we are talking several sections of society. We are talking,
what is everything in the sense?
Wait, we are talking, wait, let me listen. Who are gainful, no, I'm just saying, this thing that is enslaving us. It's enslaving us.
I don't think so.
I think that...
No, I don't think so.
These are not hasty generalizations, I'm telling you.
All right. So
I'm saying women should not allow themselves to be worked for all throughout and not doing nothing and allowing the man to do everything for them. That's what I'm saying.
Sarah, quickly, please, because we're wrapping up now.
Okay.
I have a totally different view.
Essentially, I wouldn't go away from what I'd said earlier about change being gradual and incremental. I think that we have to also, I don't know whether we have any think tank or research kind of way of finding out a lot more about women's lives in Sierra Leone. I mean, like real tangible facts. Because I'm a little put off by some of your statements, I have to say. And I say this in great friendship and love. Okay, I don't care for somebody saying that the woman earns everything and she's sitting there, abusing her husband, because that's how it translates to me. And it may not be what you mean, but that's how it comes across to me. Or that women are wicked, or that sort of thing. I don't care to use those adjectives to describe other women, for a start. And I'm also very conscious of the fact that we have all sorts of people in society. And again, I come right back down to that foundation and bedrock that we have of poverty, which overcomes us, and it overcomes everything and anything that we do, our thinking, the way that we live, the decisions that we can make about our lives, what school our children go to, and, just the quality also of the lives that we lead and how long we live too. Poverty impacts on all of that. So I think that there are far greater issues at hand that we need to think about. And in the absence of having that sort of policy think tank type of place that can go and do proper research into our lives and see what Sierra Leonean women are doing and how we live and how we give birth and how we raise our children and how really we're impacted by patriarchy and the system and society that we live in. In the absence of all of that, perhaps even I am making a lot of generalizations, to be honest.
It's okay. Thank you very much, Saz. I'm sure you've already done your closing.
Yes, it's all in there.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Joseph. So I'll go to our guest first and foremost, and then we'll come back to
I agree with everything that was said over there, and I think there is something holding our society in a way that it's so strong and it's one-sided. And unless we find a way to surmount that, women are going to live in an appearance of being their own worst enemy. If you look at it from the surface, which is all we see, there are actions and there are consequences. We forget the actions and we look at the consequences, the impact. Nobody, when you see Tifman and Tifma they see, there are conditions in their upbringing that led them to become Tifman, which is one of the reasons I always joke that whether God has the same eschatological judgment as humanity, because if God is forgiving, then the murderer and the pickpocket are not the same kind of sinners, because maybe the pickpocket was merely hungry and wanted to eat and there was no other way and he stole from somebody's pocket. So what I'm trying to say now is that is the appearance, and it appears so because women are generally competing and men are in domination of our contemporary society. Unless we change that, and this is not a situation in which a lot of women can just get up and mount a war against men. It is men having to collaborate with women, as I said earlier, to see that we live in an unequal society, and that is unjust for all of us.
Thank you very much. Hannah, quickly.
I would say I do greatly agree with the two previous panelists who have just, made their submission. But what I would now say is that let's be hopeful. Be positive about the future. It's in our hands. And women especially, the future is in our hands. We have the power to shape the world, but as Joseph said, we have to do it with the men by our side, and together I think we will make a strong force, and we can change this question and turn it around, and the experiences of both men and women will be different.
Thank you very much, William. Well, actually, I want to say that I want to see a situation where women are independent. That's the kind of thing I want to see. I want a situation where, we are emancipated from this mental dependency syndrome, if you want to put it that way, that we are not dependent on people for our subsistence. We are not dependent
totally dependent on men. I just want to see that women are independent and they are doing their own thing. I think if we get to that place of independence, I think it will rid us of the situation where we are like objects of men.
Thank you, Sadia.
How do you conclude? So, I mean, I know I said this earlier that being educated and everything, I don't see myself as a victim, but I don't think, because it depends on how old you are, you don't have to be educated for you to break free. There are women who are not educated who have made a huge difference in this world. So, and the thing is, you don't hear the backstories. For every successful woman, that woman has had to fight to get to where she is. She's had to deal with a lot of issues along the way, and patriarchy has stood in the way for many of us, but we've broke through, and educated as well as uneducated. So if you're a woman and you're watching this, know you are not a victim. You have all what it takes to succeed in this life and to be all that you can be.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Fambu, now so we wrap up this edition of the program. But before we go, we guess they don't talk, they don't give their own wonderful submissions, and also members of the lounge. Quickly, Hannah talk about hope. You know, you say we're going to be hopeful. We're going to be positive about the future. If possible, we will get there. Right now, first of all, quickly, before I come to the submissions and for wrap them up, all the two don't see the general conclusion that women, we not to be worst enemies at all. I mean, situations, they don't present themselves, we can tell, like I say, we are our worst enemies, but no, we are not. We just need to come together a little bit more and try to be supportive to one another some more, for make people for break this issue of patriarchy we talk about, this issue of dominance and control on the side of women. So there's hope, obviously, based on all the ways we don't talk. Sometimes the change what they desire, it will happen now, or probably not happen in real time. But definitely there's light at the end of the tunnel. And of course, you that woman really out there, where they see you compete woman as competition as rival. Of course, we compete, but they are healthy competitions. So you are the way they see you compete, like for say this person here, so because they do well, and they wish them to kind of, that will change that mindset there, and be a little bit more supportive, and you know, try for, if somebody they done, try for bring them up. You know, so that way the impression where some people then get say, woman them, not they support one another, it go be minimized a little bit, because right now that's the general feeling that women will not support ourselves as much as we're supposed for. But that will change our mindset, that will change how they perceive things, and of course the future will be brighter. All right, so say next time we'll come back with another edition of the program Mamdi's Lounge. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, our viewers, to watch this show. Don't forget to send us your comments or messages on Facebook, at Twitter, and you can also watch this show on YouTube. In case you missed part of all of it, you can watch us also on YouTube. Until we come back your way, it's been Mamdi's Lounge from the beautiful Thomas.